if people want to shop on Amazon, we shouldn't have a problem with that. And I'm guilty of being in that same camp in the past where I would use the mindset of, hey, that's fine if they buy there, but then how do we get them over to our site? When ultimately where they want to buy is where they want to buy, and we should be cool with it. I've been at a number of stops along the way where we've had really healthy P&Ls on the D2C side, on the Amazon side, on the retail side, and we have healthy P&Ls on each of those channels because of all the other channels.
Hello and welcome to the DTC Podcast. I'm Eric Dyck. Today I'm low-key excited about my chat with Ryan Rouse, Chief Digital Officer at HighKey. Now, HighKey is committed to helping America snack smarter by removing sugar from our favorite foods one craving at a time. Today's talk focused on the secrets of HighKey's enormous success with Amazon and how that halo effect has helped their other D2C efforts. We talk about why Ryan is a lifelong marketing learner, and we highlight a few of his favorite mentors as well as resources. We chat about the pros and cons of marketing a better for you product. And we also chat about how Ryan implemented bundling strategies that raised their D2C AOV by over 40% in his first few months on the job. Hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. On with the show.
Hey retailers, ever feel like your shopper experience feels just like everyone else's? That's probably because it does, and it shouldn't. Bluecore matches online shoppers with the products they'll buy next across channels like email, on-site, paid media, social, and SMS. With Bluecore's retail data and predictive intelligence, brands automate personalized content, offers, and recommendations for each individual shopper, enabling brands like Noble to increase conversions by 15% and drive a 46% increase in repeat buyers. Visit Bluecore.com to discover why brands like Noble, Express, and Bliss chose Bluecore to automate and scale their multi-channel personalization.
Ryan, it's great to have you here on the podcast. Can you tell me a little bit about your position as Chief Digital Officer at HighKey?
Yeah, good to be here, Eric. Thanks for having me on. At Chief Digital Officer at HighKey means I run all things e-commerce, which more specifically means Amazon, our Amazon business, which is third party, our D2C business, and the marketing and advertising side of our third-party retail business.
Very cool. So you came on summer of 2021. What were your first big moves that you made on the team in order to take the product to scale?
The first thing that we did, it was a more holistic type of situation. We really, up until the point that I got here, the e-commerce team was fairly segregated. Right. So you had Amazon as its own sort of silo, direct to consumer was wrapped up under the broader marketing and branding team, and third party retail was all exclusively under sales. Right. So what we did was we worked to build a center of excellence under e-commerce. Right. There's so many, as you very well know, there's so many roles and responsibilities that overlap when it comes to e-com, right? When you're talking about building out PDPs or you're talking about advertising and how you optimize advertising. So that's what the first thing that we did. I can get into some of the stuff that we did on the direct-to-consumer side, but that was the first major move, and I would say that has borne more fruit than anything else that I've done since I've been here.
Interesting. All right, and then what next?
Direct-to-consumer. So the direct-to-consumer side of the business, we have such a massive Amazon following in business, right? A lot of success on the Amazon side of the business, which makes direct to consumer a little bit challenging. I also think it helps in many ways, but the strategy up until the point that I got here was really trying to compete, I would say, like for like with retail and with Amazon more specifically. So the average order value when I got here was sub $50, $49, right? So the first thing that we had to do was really drive that up. We had to create a value proposition, I guess, at a macro level. And what I mean by that is what are things that we can create on direct to consumer that you can't get anywhere else so that there is a reason to come shop here? Because like for like, why would you not go shop on Amazon? If we have 50,000 reviews, if you have bestseller badges, and we all know the experience that a consumer would rather have, right? Overnight delivery, free delivery. It's just easy. They don't have to enter payment info. So we shifted the strategy. The way that I talk about it is we wanted to turn our direct-to-consumer, HighKey.com, we wanted to make that the Costco of e-commerce, of our e-commerce channel, meaning buy in bulk, virtual bundles, increased average order value, all things in one that you can't get anywhere else, just like Costco is to the retail side of the business. So we went really hard into a lot of those types of things. And to date, our average order value now for first-time customers is over $70.
Amazing. I want just back into Amazon a little bit. It sounds like the Amazon business was really established kind of before you joined. What can you say about how that, how you got to that level? Was it really just like a rolling thunder thing where you just acquired enough reviews and purchases that it just kind of continued to roll? What do you attribute the Amazon success to?
Our founder, AJ Patel, has a history of building very great presence on Amazon with multiple brands. So this is his fifth brand, I think. He's had a say in a number of other ones, but fifth brand that he's launched. And so AJ has a lot of experience on Amazon. My right hand at HighKey, her name is Maddie. She's worked with AJ at a number of different brands, and they're very good at Amazon. And so when I say good at Amazon, more specifically, it's the things you need to succeed on Amazon, which we all know. It's the fundamentals that drive all business in every channel, everywhere we go, right? So doing the fundamentals at scale, I think, is how all brands win on any channel. And that's what HighKey, before my time and still now, is able to do on Amazon. So that's understanding what's going to convert, doing a ton of testing on PDPs, right? So images, renders, constantly testing titles, really making sure that the bullet points are both have that beautiful mix of search engine optimization and flow and being legible and readable and things like that. So I'd love to say there's a ton of things that we did differently, but we have a great product, and then you did the fundamentals at scale. And if you do that over time, you'll end up winning.
And I imagine, I was just kind of going over some of your LinkedIn posts and your Twitter posts, and I imagine before you decided to take on this role, checking out the fundamentals of the business were a big part of your decision factor. I was just reading a post about how so many people kind of feel you can go into e-commerce and, gone are the days where you can slam a bunch of ads into something and see it scale. You really need to have those fundamentals dialed in. True.
I mean, I think that for me, what was some of the really biggest opportunities that I saw in this role for me was from a leadership and strategic perspective, what I already talked about, bringing the e-commerce team together and creating some leverage for the brand inside of the entire team. But yeah, on the direct-to-consumer side specifically, it's you have an amazing product. You have shown the ability to get into all channels with a product that people love. But the direct-to-consumer side of the business wasn't as successful as any of them had wanted it to be. But you have the fundamentals in place, which in this case is brand, beautiful brand, and a beautiful product. If you have those, the fundamentals become a lot easier. The tactical fundamentals, on-channel tactical fundamentals, become a heck of a lot easier if you've got a great product. If you don't, there's no amount of fundamentals you can do within the channel that are going to grow the business as much as you want.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Now, back to your raising of your AOV, because I think that's just such a critical factor for especially anyone in the CPG game on D2C. And did you have to build out new websites? Did you build out new landing pages? What were some of the critical things that actually allowed you to create those bundles that raised the AOV?
Right, totally. So first thing, virtual bundles, and I'll just get more specific. Some people have different terminology. We wanted the most beautiful thing in the world is bundles that, from the eyes of the consumer, are different than what they can get elsewhere, but ops doesn't have to do anything different, right? So operations and 3PL don't have to do anything different, because there's nothing worse than going to ops and saying, hey, we're going to have you kit a whole bunch of new types of products, right? Adds cost, adds complexity. So we looked at our best-selling products and we said, which of these, as they currently stand in their sale units, can we just lump together and sell together? What are the ones that we know taste the best, that consumers have the highest reviews, and people love to come back and reorder? We took all of those products and we put together 6 or 7 bundles, high margin bundles, but also our best tasting products through the lens of the consumer anyway. And then we led with that. We did a couple things on that front. We built landing pages, obviously, so that paid media could be pointed directly at that. We also did, we are continued to do, but we're doing tests on the homepage to direct people towards those. So we put those on the bestsellers page. We put a bestsellers tag on the homepage of the website so that when you go there, and then those bundles are high up on the bestsellers PLP, right? And then just, the path towards that page, you're going to find in a lot more places now than you ever found before. So that's sort of the front end, right? Let's just make sure everybody knows that these bundles. Now, we're also doing some things when you add, we're doing cross-sell, upsell type stuff. So when you add any product to a cart, we're then popping up one of the bundles, right? We also added, so what we did was we added some of our best-selling products. We have, our best-selling product is a chocolate chip 3-pack of 2 ounces, 3 small bags, 2.2 ounces each. That's our bestseller. That's our hero SKU. That's an Amazon product. We sell in Costco a larger bag of that, right? So we did the same thing. We incorporated the larger bag onto DTC since we're making it anyway. Again, no stress on ops, no additional work. Just bring some of that over to our 3PL. Let's sell that. So if you add the 3 2-packs to your cart on our website, then we immediately show a pop-up that says, hey, we have this value pack. It's larger, it's bigger. And we're doing the same thing with bundles. Any of the products that you add on the website that are in a bundle that we're offering, we're showing you that bundle to give you the opportunity to know that this is a price savings on a per ounce basis. There's a lot more in here. As long as you're buying that, you might like these other things. And then lastly, just post-purchase upsells, right? Post-purchase offers. So just pretty standard on the thank you page after checkout saying, hey, here's one more thing if you want to throw in your cart. And then even on the thank you page, putting, showing additional offers there.
Any apps you can shout out that were sort of essential in this process? Were you doing this all natively on Shopify using Shogun or what kind of tools?
We are using Zipify Pages for the landing page stuff, and we're using one-click upsell for the cross-sell upsell. I've learned a lot from Ezra Firestone over the years, so I'm inclined to use him wherever I can.
I noticed that. This is a bit of it. I want to get into the ads that kind of drove to to these bundles in a second, but we'll use this as an opportunity. I noticed you have a lot of certifications from Digital Marketer. This is a space that I've been in now for a long time, this sort of education space. I know Ezra well. I know Russell, know these guys. And I'm always interested to hear how, accomplished marketers are able, have the confidence to go into these roles and make these changes how much has education been part of your journey as a chief digital officer?
So much. I mean, the very short version of my background, I started a business, an online only business with a friend from college in 2013. It was prepared meals. We could only sell them online. I had 0 marketing experience, 0 online marketing experience. And that showed. We couldn't hire agencies. Obviously, everyone knows the story. You're hiring agencies expecting them to be your strategist down to your tactician. We were hiring team members who probably were pretty good, but they had no guidance from me or us. So it was at that time that I dove in and found the e-learning area and found it differently than I had previously in my career. But it's been a huge thing for me. I mean, at that point, I was buying courses to learn Facebook ads, and I was running our Facebook ads ourselves, running Google ads, running email. So it's been, I can't speak enough to how important learning has been for me, because if you don't have a sound, I didn't come up through a large brand where I got to touch a little bit of each of those areas and then gain an understanding that allowed me then to manage those areas. I literally learned every single one of those areas, executed on every single one of those areas, and now I'm in a much better position to be able to help teammates, right? To help people on my team with strategies, because I've literally pushed the buttons on every single one of those. It's still, for me, a default for me not to jump into one-click upsell and build funnels. I was doing it yesterday, and one person on the team, that is their job, right? So it's for me taking a step back, sending them a note saying, hey, let's look at these together, because I just love it. It's not me trying to micromanage. I'm just used to I've done all that myself, and I'm used to, and I love it.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a theme I see across all the successful people that I chat with in this area, is that idea of lifelong learning. And that people love having their hands on the tools still, even when maybe they shouldn't, or they have team members who do that. What does your marketing team look like at this point?
Yeah, so we've got We've got an Amazon team. We're in the process of, as I said, sort of moving these across and figuring out like someone who works on PDPs is going to work on PDPs for third party, going to work on them for DTC, and going to work on them for Amazon. We're still in the process of transitioning that. But I've got a VP. Her name's Maddie. I spoke about earlier. She is as good as anyone out there when it comes to Amazon marketing. Like I would put her on a short list of the shortest list that's out there with Amazon. She's got a fairly large team on the Amazon side of the business that we are now trying to incorporate into the direct-to-consumer side. But we've got 5 people on the Amazon team as it currently stands. We've got 3 people on the direct-to-consumer team, and then we've got 1 person heading up third-party retail. But again, think about it at the tactical level now. We're starting to just cross-train and cross-function so that they're going to be a little bit more siloed, not in a bad way, but PDPs are PDPs, and we're going to have, the person who sort of owns PDPs is going to go to brand and get all the assets that we need. And then from there, decide which platforms they're appropriate for, they can work on, so on and so forth. Reviews is another thing. Reviews on third party, reviews on D2C, reviews on Amazon. The strategies, the outcomes we want are the same. Some of the tactics you can use are a little bit different, but still someone who's really, really good at understanding what needs to be done from a review standpoint, in my opinion, should be working at those across anywhere where we have reviews online that need to be generated.
I like that. And it's you talked about siloed, but I think most of the time when people are talking about siloed, it's like the Amazon team is siloed and you don't get enough learnings from Amazon out to these other players. You're talking about siloing by discipline across platforms, which sounds inherently less siloed to me.
That's right. That's right.
All the cross-platform learnings that are generated.
That's exactly right. So it's really just taking the knowledge that I think previously had dedicated to more the Amazon side of the business and understanding that this works all e-com is e-com to a certain degree, and these strategies work across platform. What it also does for those people is they get the experience in direct to consumer and third party. Right. To me, I think what I would want out of anyone on my team is when we say e-commerce, because there's so much riffraff out there about considering Amazon a competitor to direct to consumer or third party. At the end of the day, as a brand, especially consumable brand, you sell everywhere that you possibly can where your customers are. And none of these should be considered competitors. They should be considered different distribution channels that we should love getting money from and getting customers from. So I think people who are a little bit more well-versed and understand, because the strategies are different, but the fundamentals are the same. So I think getting them cross-trained can only help them from a career perspective.
And you already spoke to it, but giving people a reason to buy directly, or through these bundles or through other sort of experiences that you create on your site that you can't get on Amazon, you just need to give them a reason to be there. You accept what you get from Amazon, but you give them a reason to be on your site as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, if people want to shop on Amazon, we shouldn't have a problem with that. And I'm guilty of being in that same camp in the past where I would use the mindset of, hey, that's fine if they buy there, but then how do we get them over to our site? When ultimately where they want to buy is where they want to buy, and we should be cool with it. I've been at a number of stops along the way where we've had really healthy P&Ls on the D2C side, on the Amazon side, on the retail side, and we have healthy P&Ls on each of those channels because of all the other channels, right? It's really challenging to build a healthy P&L at scale on just one channel. So I think that's the thing that if people haven't had experience with that is the benefit of that, aside from obviously all the cross, the halo effect that all that's going to have on your brand. It's the P&L works because of all of those channels, not despite it.
Amazing. Now let's talk about ads a little bit. So you've built out your customer experience, you've raised your AOV, and now in the D2C channel, you go to market with ads. What was your sort of go to market strategy with your ads across, say, Facebook, Google, any other platforms that have been key?
Yeah, more. I mean, the AOV was a huge shift because that was going to help our paid media for obvious reasons. But I want to incorporate more storytelling into our advertising strategy, right? In my opinion, thinking about starting out with a brand, and HighKey is by no means starting out, but when starting out, if no one knows about your brand, then if ads are going to be the first thing that they see, then I would want them to know what the product does, what it is, why it's different, and how it's going to help them. And that sounds so maybe cliche and straightforward, but if you look at a lot of ads out there, they're not incorporating that. There's different ways to do that, right? You can send to a blog post or advertorial type of thing where there's a little bit more storytelling. You can do it right inside the ad. You can do it with a video. But I just don't think that was being done before I got here. And so we really wanted to first fix the AOV because that was making paid media much more challenging. From there, we say, okay, now we know that first order AOV is high enough to really make paid media work better at scale. So now it's an advertising game of those types of things. So really looking at how do we story tell more, not in the all the way on the farthest end of the spectrum storytelling, but not on the other end either where you're just showing a product and giving its benefits and saying go, right? A little bit more copy in that ad or a little bit more copy on the page that they're landing on goes a really long way to help people understand exactly what it is that you do.
Makes sense. Now, specifically, are you like which platforms are you seeing the biggest success from top of funnel?
Yeah, top of funnel, Facebook, Instagram, Google Shopping, and TikTok. So we started testing TikTok in the last few months. I was, I guess I'm a little bit older school now. It sounds funny for me to say that now because I don't feel like I'm that old, but I am older, right, relative to some out there. And TikTok is new. So I think I fell in the camp that I used to chuckle about other people when Facebook and Instagram, Facebook specifically, became big, saying that your customers are not on this platform. And now I was the one guilty of saying, oh, is TikTok really right for us and our demographic? And so like all good marketers, we say test it, right? Rather than have an opinion, test it. And TikTok is certainly, this is not new news, but TikTok certainly feels like Facebook did 5 or 6 years ago. The CPMs are super low. We're seeing great conversion. We're seeing super low click costs, and the people are going on to buy. And obviously top of the funnel filling bottom of the funnel. So we haven't gotten quite into using TikTok influencers yet to sort of white label from their pages or anything like that. But something that we're going into, and we are doing a lot of influencer stuff, just to circle back. So influencer created UGC and then white labeling from their pages and sending, and that's great top of the funnel stuff.
Oh, of course. We're seeing, just for user acquisition on the newsletter side, TikTok has just been an absolute boon. My thing is, I'm occasionally on Reels. I will admit, I think we're both 42, but we're in our 40s, let's say. Yep. And I'm on TikTok, and I'm blown away by the depth of its algorithm comparatively to something like Reels, where Reels skims along the surface of whatever's popular, whatever meme things there are. My TikTok feed, it knows a lot about me. It knows a lot about my sort of deeper interests. And so it makes sense to me that TikTok is having a ton of success. I'm curious about your advertising strategy there. What we're doing is we use something we talk about at Pilot House a lot, is employee generated content, essentially, where you've got, it's the thing that you can make quickly. You obviously want to get in influencers and people directly in your target demographic, but that ability to spin out quick storytelling style content that is slightly tied to the memes of the day, but not overly. I'm just curious, can you speak a little bit to your TikTok ad strategy?
Yeah, so what we had the benefit of when I got here of a lot of relationships with influencers, all the way down from micro to macro influencers, because we would just use them for a lot of retail launches. We'd use them in other areas besides D2C, put it that way. And so for me, we have relationships with, call it 20, that we are in direct communication with. We can quickly reach out to them. We can quickly brief out something for them. And obviously content creators are very quick at turnaround, especially some of the ones that are not in such high demand. So that's been great for me. Not only did we have a bunch of stored assets that I just needed a quick edit, but we have that direct line of communication. So that's for us. We're in the process now we have an internal content creation team. We're in the process of making that process better on how we're generating our own. So the goal in Q1 is, what's the process we can use so that we can spin up 10 pieces of UGC style creative a quarter, and then we'll turn that quarterly into a month so that we're constantly backfilling that. But we've got a great amount of content. We also have a good product that helps with content. You're talking about desserts and chocolates and cookies and things like that, right? So It's very nostalgic for people to put mini cookies in a bowl of cereal and have it feel like a cereal that all of us used to eat, right? So we have great assets already in place that I could just take a look at thousands of pieces of content and say, hey, have we thought about these from a more direct response perspective or an advertising perspective?
Smart. Now, with a product like yours, which is a better for you style product, it's sort of a problem solving product. You said it's got that nostalgic factor, obviously, but then it also has the benefit of being something that, replaces sugar from your diet in all these innovative ways. But I wanted to ask, what are the biggest challenges of marketing a better for you product?
A couple things. Time of year. So we just got off our worst quarter, Q4. It's more like December. People want the sugar in December, right? They want it all. So it's really funny to watch the market share changes on a platform like Amazon during December, and the ones who, even within better for you category, those that probably have a lot more sugar inside of them than those that don't tend to do much better in December. So time of year is a challenge. Q1 on the flip side is our Super Bowl. So everybody, New Year, New You is overused. We all know that, but end of the day, like the psychology of humans during Q1 is such that lines up perfectly for our brand. But I think the challenge is a couple things. One, from the consumers who are in the better for you space. I would put myself in that camp. Like we have been here for years. We buy these types of products anyway. They've tasted so many bad versions of this product. Because there's such an evolution here where 10 years ago, you did not find better for you products in general.
And they would have been crammed with sucralose or aspartame or something anyway, right?
So it's like what was better for you then, right? It was just slightly better than the old one. With the evolution of the category, you've seen a lot of misses because it's hard. Right. We know ourselves. We've tried a lot of products. It couldn't quite get there. So we just never launched them. But so you've got a consumer base that's tried a lot of really bad products. And so they're really skeptical when they see any better for you product that it's actually going to taste good. Right. And then on the other side of the fence, what I would say is it's still, I think when you're in health and wellness has been a huge part of my life, my entire life. And then I started a better for you brand, I guess, let's just say. So it's really easy to be in your echo chamber, in your own bubble, and feel like the bubble is much larger than it is. When the reality is, I think the better for you category is still serving a lot fewer people than any of us expect it to in the future. So you've got a limited audience size there. Right. So I think between those are the two biggest challenges where if you're in the space, it would feel like a layup, but there's also a lot of competition and a lot of bad products out there. And if you're not in the space, like getting that chasm of trying to get someone from not thinking about better for you types of products to getting for you is obviously the bigger opportunity, but it's the more challenging one as well.
And I imagine you deal with a slightly more educated consumer. If they are looking for those better for you things, they're probably more hyper conscious of other aspects of your product, the ingredients, the packaging, the whole experience. Is that something that you find as well?
1,000%. I mean, we're talking about new products that we're launching coming up here yesterday on a team call, and this was the exact thing was brought up. What we do on those calls is we think through the lens of our consumer who is really diligent. Every single ingredient in there. So we look at it from an innovation standpoint. Our innovation team knows what we want to use and what we won't use. But there's also this really funny or tricky element, is a better way to say that, of ingredients that we know are on our yes side. We'll use these for all of these reasons, but for whatever reason, in a Facebook thread or Reddit thread, the consumers in the space hate that ingredient for whatever reason, right? It's been vilified for whatever reason. And so you're absolutely right. It is really tricky because consumers are all over every single ingredient they use. Some of them are very, very educated, but on the flip side, maybe they're educated in a certain way that who knows how good that education is, right? They've heard these 5 facts or 6 facts or these ingredients, and whether the truths they hold to be true or not is up to them. So it's a tricky dance.
It's a double-edged sword too, because the more engaged they are on these things, that those are just more touch points that you have to build that relationship with. On the flip side, what are the best things about marketing an innovative, better for you brand?
I mean, to me, sugar is the thing we need to get out of the American diet. If we could get through all of these, 80% of every quote unquote lifestyle diet out there are exactly the same, even 90%, right? They're talking about removing sugar from your diet, removing starches, removing the things that don't really work well with your body long-term and increase inflammation. Sugar's it. Sugar is the 80-20. I talk a lot about the 80-20. Sugar is the 80-20 of getting the United States and the developed world and the entire world healthier. And so and with that, most people think comes with sacrificing completely on the snacks you love and the desserts that you love. When we're bringing a product that literally you don't have to sacrifice. So you can remove the thing that if most people removed it from their diets or lowered the amount that they're taking in, they would be healthier, full stop. And we are taking that and we're delivering still a delicious treat that you know and love without the sugar or with very low amounts of sugar. I mean, that's a perfect world for me.
And it's such a global challenge, honestly. I've spent a lot of time in South and Central America and all over Asia. Just the sugar water drink, the sugar industry has such deep, tentacles into our whole world right now. So it's quite a market rife with opportunity, I would say.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you think back to the beginning of how people were bringing low fat to market. Low fat to market was just removing fat, replacing it with sugar, some sort of sugar substance, right? But back to the conversation we were just having, the consumer at the time was just reading a label and thought fat was bad as a blanket statement. So this has no fat. That means it's good for you. Weren't looking at the sugar content or some of the other content. And that's how it started. So absolutely.
And there was actual fraudulent research in that area too, I recall, right? Where they're full out like demonizing sugar. It was I think about this often because you tell someone that fat clogs your arteries. And people are like, yeah, that makes sense. There's a tube and then there's going to be fat in there, so that's going to clog it. But really, it's this other inflammation that's caused by all these other dietary things, including sugar being a main culprit. I remember that I read the New York Times article on that specific situation on the sugar lobby paying to demonize fat. That's some interesting things.
There's, yes, the environment matters, what people are reading matters, and who's in charge of what's being published have a lot of power at the end of the day. And so, yeah, there's a full-on re-education probably that needs to take place over time, which is happening. People are finding their own sources. Whether they're good sources or not is to be determined. But that's what I love about this is sugar. I think everyone would agree that sugar is bad for you. And if you still want to enjoy the things you want to enjoy without sugar, then what a perfect spot to sit in as a marketer with a product that tastes great that doesn't have the sugar.
Totally. Now, I think you're kind of describing this, and I know it was obviously created before you joined the team, but can you speak a little bit to where the term HighKey or the brand HighKey, what that speaks to?
Yeah, HighKey it speaks to, right, for one, being HighKey excited is about being excited about something, right? So HighKey is about being excited about the fact that you can still enjoy your snacks. FOMO, NOMO is something that was a tagline that we've had with the brand forever. So there's no more missing out. There's no more missing out. Let's be excited about the things that you can eat. Let's not look sadly upon the things that you can't eat, right? You can still go and enjoy everything that you used to love without all the ingredients that you don't need in your body, and really your body's going to do better without. You can enjoy that. And that's the brand itself. The visual has come a really long way since the beginning stages. We even did a visual rebranding last year that I think the team just did an amazing job on. I love the visuals of our brand. But at the core of it, that's what it is. There's no more missing out, right? FOMO, NOMO is at the core, and removing sugar from the American diet is the mission behind the brand.
I love it. I feel like Lowkey is the term I hear more often. I don't actually hear, and so it just creates an interesting sort of like question when I hear HighKey, because I don't hear HighKey in the discourse too much, but I instantly get it because Lowkey is such a it's low key part of the cultural discourse right now.
That's exactly right. I think it's a little bit progressive, if I'm being honest, right? I think HighKey in the vernacular isn't as widely used, to your point, but because people immediately get it, there's no thinking involved, which is great. And then I think over time, eventually, whether it gets used more in sort of discourse or not, who knows, but people do immediately get it. And then when you just dig a little bit deeper, all of it starts to wrap up and make a lot of sense.
I love it. So first of all, like one of the things we're experiencing in January versus Q4, and I wanted to ask how you play into this. Like if you see Q4 and December specifically being your worst your worst month and January being your best month, if you can flip those quarters, because it's going to cost you, we're seeing like 5 or 6 times as much in December and November to advertise in these platforms. And January, we're hitting, with some great results early on. Is that something that you play into your budgets? Are you actually lowering your budgets in Q4 and then really front loading in Q1?
Yeah, 1,000%. We just got done obviously building our budget for this year, 2022, and it's front loaded, right? So think about it at the tactical level, like build your database when it's cheaper and better to build your database. Take more advantage of your database when it's cheaper and harder to build your database. So yes, we absolutely will spend more in Q1 than we will in Q4. We'll spend more in Q2 than we'll spend in Q3, right? So it's sort of slowly declining in terms of how much we'll spend. Build up that audience, build up that list, build up our customer base, and then what we do a lot more of in Q4 is take advantage, make offers, right? Get people in, get people to reorder, things along those lines.
I like it. So what is going to be your biggest focus in 2022 to grow HighKey?
We're leaning into, interestingly enough, we're leaning into paid media. I would say HighKey has had the benefit of not having to lean into paid media in a heavy way. And that speaks a lot to the product. It speaks a lot to how good we are with our sales team in retail and our Amazon team. But as we see a lot on the Twitter and LinkedIn threads, I think when you're using paid media to try and build a brand, it's really challenging from a brand building and P&L perspective. When you have an established brand with a great product and great repeat order rate and great retention, great conversion rates, great landing pages, right? Like that to me, what I was saying to the team a few weeks ago is when you can lean in, when you have the opportunity to, that means you've done a lot of things right leading up until this point. So our opportunity, we've got some really awesome products coming down the pipe, which I'm really, really excited about. So I can't really disclose, but that's a huge focus of ours is getting into an amazing new category that we believe we can win in. But on the core side of the business, it's growing our core, which is our best product, and getting more brand awareness, right? So step back from paid media, brand awareness. We don't think nearly the amount of people who should know about HighKey do know about HighKey. So we need to increase brand awareness. We're going to do that through a lot of sampling, cross channels, and we're going to do that through a lot of paid media and making sure that we can. And we know that the core fundamentals of our business are what allow us to lean into paid media, the opposite of just using paid media to try and build a brand.
Which you can't, which is so much harder to do these days.
You really can't.
You really can't. I think that's probably a safe way to say it. How has PR played into this, getting the word out? Because I know you've had some good press for sure. Is that something you want to continue with in 2022?
Of course. PR is good. It's funny. Many brands or people that I spoke to aren't overly thrilled with whomever they're using for PR, or their agency they're using, and probably I think that's a function of unrealistic expectations on what PR can do for you, right? But we love PR, right? If you can be in publications regularly from third party, we both know that people are using this type of strategy and ads a lot, right? Sort of media properties sending to a page that's not from you, or whitelisting an influencer, UGC. Conceptually is the same thing. If I'm a consumer, I'm hearing about it from a different source, then I believe it more than if I hear it from the source itself. And so I think that not as the only strategy, but we absolutely have used PR and will continue to use PR to increase brand awareness. And it goes back to the same point I think I just made, which is if you don't have your website, your storefront on Amazon, if you're not available widely, it's harder to take advantage of a tactic like PR. If you are available widely and you believe in the tenets of what you've set up on your storefront, on those different channels and in brick and mortar, then how could PR not provide a nice halo for the brand and the brand awareness?
You mentioned a little bit about expectations working with agencies, with PR agencies specifically. Can you describe a little bit how HighKey and your marketing team kind of works with external agencies, and do you have any advice for brands out there in how to work with agencies and what to keep internal?
Yeah, less on the what to keep internal. I really think that's up to the brand itself. It depends on who you have internally on whether or not you should bring it internally. In other words, if you have one or two leaders who have experience in each of these and have the ability to hire, let's just say, a media buyer and oversee the media buyer, then you have the type of situation that is conducive to having an internal media buyer. that doesn't mean you should do it, but the point is a lot of factors dictate whether you should have it in-house or out-house. And that's a conversation that goes on repeatedly. Should I do this in-house or out-house? And I don't think that's the right question. Should I? It's can you first? And then if you can, then should you? Right. And that's up to the brand and what the people that they have. When we're working with agencies, I've made the mistake of hiring agencies when I knew nothing and expecting the agency to do everything. Right. I want the agency to be my VP of performance marketing. I also want them to come up with the strategy, execute against everything that needs to happen inside of it, and then run all the media. And so I, with the experience, having worked with a ton of agencies the wrong way, have a better way that I think that we're working with them, which is just knowing what exactly they will do for you. Right? Let's just use paid media or performance marketing as an example, right? Realistically, what they should do is set up your campaigns with the right type of structure, right? Have a good testing methodology. If they create content for you, great. If they don't, you should be feeding them a ton of content, but that needs to be clear ahead of time. Totally. And then you should be if you have the ability to look inside those accounts, awesome, you should be. If not, make sure that they're delivering the types of reports that give you the insights that you need. But just being very clear about where the line for them stops and where you start. And the biggest piece of advice I would give is they are a partner of yours. An agency is a partner of yours that's helping you execute against a strategy that you should have put together and were clear about the gaps that you had on your team about what it was going to take to execute against that. And then you brought them in. Right? So they are a partner of yours to help you execute on your strategy, not the other way around.
And you mentioned it off the top, viewing them as your head of performance marketing, which sort of implies that they're in the fold, that the lines of communication are so open, the way that they're incentivized, it aligns with what you're trying to do. And that's at Pilot House, obviously how we try to treat things with just constantly open lines of communication and being fully aligned on goals across multiple platforms. Because that's a whole other thing when it comes into using potentially different agencies for different media channels, for instance, it can be a challenge occasionally.
Yeah. I mean, bring them in, let them know, right? Have good, honest dialogue about what's going on inside of the business, what's going on in different channels. And, like customer acquisition cost is obviously a huge metric of ours. An agency is not going to have line of sight into your customer acquisition cost. They'll have a cost per order, right, on the platforms that they're doing, maybe, right? Because that even attribution is tough, but constantly giving them that info that they need, right? Here's our revenue. Here's the total new customers we've gotten. Here's the total media we've used between you and another partner. We are working with an agency, a couple of agencies on the paid media front, but yeah, just making sure that they're clear that we have another agency running a slightly different strategy, getting everyone on the same call together so that we just make sure everyone's ultra clear on what everyone else is doing, what our goals are, and then high level of communication.
Amazing. So what do you think, what's the potential? I always like to hear people's thought for how big their company can get. Like, what do you think the potential is for HighKey in the next 2 to 3 years?
Man, unlimited is such a overused word, right? It's also not really definable, but to the point that we were making earlier, you're talking about, I think we're at the early stages of the education on how evil sugar is. And if sugar is, it's in a lot of things, obviously, these days, but the biggest culprit is dessert, then how could we not have a huge opportunity in front of us? I think there'll be multiple players. There already are multiple players. I think multiple players will have big businesses. When we started Factor, we said the same thing. Meal delivery companies, multiple players will be winners here because there's such a tremendous opportunity. And I would say the same about HighKey, is that there could be 4 or 5 winners, quote unquote, in this space. I think we can be. We've grown very quickly in a very short period of time, and I think we can continue that level of growth in the next 2 years and beyond, because what you're building is a community of people who want to enjoy their desserts without the sugar, and how could that audience of people not grow?
And it's going to be such a fast growing business. I'm curious, like, who do you even think of as your competitors? Are you thinking about, established dessert businesses? Are you thinking about rival, sugar replacement companies? Like, who do you think of as your competitors?
Yeah, a little bit of both, right? So if you think about like Mondelez and Oreo cookie, that's a competitor. I think you're going to start to see market share shift from some of the brand names in full sugar cookies into some of the better for you. So competitor to a certain extent. And then, on the better for you side, looking at a brand like Quest. Quest Nutrition's done a great job of building a better for you snack, bars, cookies, things along those lines. Lenny and Larry's is another example of another brand that's in a similar space to us. So we think about both. Anyone that's eating cookies, eating snacks, chips that we have is technically a competitor. We're looking more at the better for you space, and I just think the better for you space is the one that's growing more, obviously, than the more traditional one.
I think so. Okay, so this is one of our standard stock questions here. If we were to provide you a $50,000 grant to be used in your marketing in 2022, where exactly would you deploy that?
I would fully flesh out the zero party data, right? I would have fully fleshed out questionnaires, pop-ups, surveys at every part of the journey, and really just stabilize or lean into, I guess, more is a better way to put it, gathering our own data from our own customers.
And I imagine you're doing this to an extent already. What have been the more successful zero party data capturing experiments that you've run so far?
Yeah, just asking more often via email post-purchase. I think the easiest place to start is just asking questions of the customers who have shown to be loyal to you. And reaching out to them. I think everyone is a little bit skeptical. It's part of what's going on here, why people use Slack every day instead of just picking up the phone sometimes for a quick 5-minute phone call or a text message instead of that. Same would go for our customer database, right? We're very hesitant to reach out and ask for information from people because we feel like we wouldn't like it if people did that to us. But these are our best customers who've shown a proclivity to order from us. They want to be part of our community, and why not just ask? And I think you'll be really, really surprised at how quickly or easily a customer who's a customer of yours is willing to give you some information, assuming you're not asking them for too much, right? But that's the quickest way is take your VIP customers best, get a list of questions that you would want to know from them, and then reach out and ask them. And then you can start to build backwards from hey, on site before they purchase or during consideration phase, things like that.
And these are questions about cadence, questions about taste, questions about what they like to see, what they don't like to see. What's the essence of what you're trying to determine here?
Yeah, I want to understand what's driving them to purchase our product. What is the underlying thing? It's going to be different for everyone. We have our own version of why we think people buy, and that's been validated in some cases and not in others. But where did you hear about us? The best question any of us could get with attribution going away, and why are you buying from us in a couple different forms, right? But what's the trigger event that got you thinking about a brand like us? And then there's a little bit more, how is your site experience, things like that. That's a little less, that's more tactical than it is strategic. But any brand, I would think, would want to know how someone found out about them, if they ended up flowing through to purchase, and then what is it that's making them want to buy? What is it in their life that's going on that they think this product can solve, right? What was life like before they bought this product? What do they think it will be like after they buy this product? Those sound like very, that's persuasion 101, obviously, but you really do want to know. That's what moves people to buy. So you don't ask those necessarily straight out because I don't think a customer knows exactly how to answer that question. So it comes in different forms on how you ask the question, but that's the root of what I would want to know.
Love it. Now you've got such a good story with your brand, and you've got such a good the audience is accessible in all sorts of different ways. So many people are awakening to the fact that they want to be more conscious of their sugar. And I wanted to just ask if you'd done any thinking on what sort of content marketing that you're interested in 2022. Have you thought of experimenting with podcasts or any of this kind of thing? Because I could just hear Joe Rogan, just going off on these sugar substitute cookies.
Yeah, yeah. Newsletter. So I would say newsletter. We're looking to explore OTT, right? So just streaming ads. Podcast ads, newsletter. I think a lot of those are fairly traditional, right? But maybe not the lowest hanging fruit when people are thinking about paid media and just going paid social and paid search. But as a way to incorporate that story, I really do think storytelling is important. We all know that. It's sort of said all too often. But for a brand like ours, I think it's critical. So the thinking is, how do we get that storytelling element? And your point, like Joe Rogan, to have Joe Rogan talking about, have one of his tirades about sugar. I would love to have that as a clip, right? That can be that they're playing everywhere, that we can play everywhere. But yeah, that's the type of content marketing. I think modern day content podcast. I would love to have a podcast. I think it's sitting and talking with really smart people about the things that we're dealing with in the world. Yeah, you know it firsthand. How could that go against you? How it would work for our brand? We'd have to put some thought into. But yeah,
I think it's ripe. It's a ripe opportunity with the brand being HighKey. That idea of living life in this sort of like not making sacrifices, still getting the things you love while making these better choices for you. I just feel like there's a really fertile ground for discussion that converge into all sorts of interesting areas. So I would urge. I'm obviously a proponent of podcasts. They've worked well for D2C.
I think it's a good idea, right? Because it would be different, right? So you're talking about most people talking about those things are health and wellness experts, and God bless all of the health and wellness experts out there. I've learned a lot from all of them as well. This would be a little bit different angle on it, so it's smart. Maybe we'll do it.
Very cool. Any other D2C brands? You mentioned one in the pre-talk here. Are there any other D2C brands that you wanted to shout out that you think are doing a great job?
Yeah, well, so I mentioned I got the best Christmas present I got this year was Ember. It's a coffee mug that is self-regulating. Well, not self-regulating. It's temperature-regulated coffee mug on an app on my phone. And I used it today for the first time. It's brilliant. I had not heard of them. I'm
sitting here drinking a cold cup of coffee.
Totally, which I've done. So it begs questions of like, why did I wait till January 7th to use this thing if I'm an avid coffee drinker? But that's a story for another day. So that's a great one. Twillery, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Twillery. They're a men's fashion brand that I've recently found. So they've got dress shirts, they've got blazers, things like that. I love their marketing. Most of their email marketing is just plain text. It sort of looks like info marketing type of emails, but they work really, really well. So like very limited design. Vuori is no longer a secret by any stretch of the imagination. I found Vuori years and years ago and am constantly draped in Vuori brand. So I love that brand as well.
I am not aware of either of these, so I will be checking them out. I think that's really interesting to I was always impressed with Chubbies and their as an apparel brand and their email marketing campaigns, their SMS stuff. I think just does such a good job of indoctrinating people to the brand story and all that fun stuff. Nice. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you so much for coming on the D2C podcast today. I know you're really active on Twitter, on LinkedIn. How do you suggest people find you if they want to follow?
Yeah, both those platforms. So LinkedIn, I've just recently got into Twitter as well. So if RS Rouse on Twitter and on LinkedIn, just go search my name. I think I'm the only one on there. But I would be happy to have anyone come on over.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at directtoconsumer, all one word, .co. I'm Eric Dyck, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.